What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Tony the Great. For all my new viewers, welcome. If you like what you see, drop me a comment and a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you are a return viewer, like I always say, welcome back, gang. I'm really starting to get a hold of this YouTube thing, man. I really like the long form content, mainly because it gives me an excuse to yap a little bit longer than my usual short form videos. But today is January 10th, 2025. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and well, it's snowing outside. In fact, this might be some of the thickest snow I've ever seen in Atlanta. So I am officially having a snow day. And what better way to celebrate being snowed in than with some good horror movies? But not just any horror movies. Let's talk about some snowed in horror movies. So here are my top 5 favorite snowy day horror movies. Let's get into it. The first movie I have on this list is a more recent film. It's called The Lodge from 2019. The Lodge is a 2019 psychological horror film directed by Veronica Franz and Severin Fiala. Plot follows a soon-to-be stepmother who, along with her fiance's 2 children, becomes stranded at their rural lodge during Christmas. There, she and the children experience a number of unexplained events that seem to be connected to her past. I first saw this movie a couple years ago, really didn't expect nothing from it, but honestly, I was genuinely surprised at what I saw. The atmosphere of this movie was extremely intense, nerve-wracking to say the least. And when you really put yourself in the shoes of these kids, it makes it even more terrifying because it's like, this ain't your mama, you know what I'm saying? On top of that, these ain't her kids. So she's having this huge responsibility to take care of her fiance's children, and these children have to trust this lady who they really don't know that well, all while dealing with a situation that may or may not be her fault because of her past. This is definitely a solid snow day flick, highly recommended. It's not really that scary, but it's definitely intense, because again, it's a psychological horror film, so you're not really gonna see a bunch of ghouls, goblins, blood, and gore. I really want to keep this video short and sweet, don't want to yap too long, so let's get straight into the next movie with Frozen. Oh wait, no, not that Frozen. 2010's Frozen. Frozen is a psychological horror survival film written and directed by Adam Green. It tells the story of 3 friends stranded in a chairlift after a day of skiing, forced to make life or death choices in order to survive and get down. Majority of the film is shot with them stuck in the chairlift as you see their minds completely start to dwindle. Man, this movie is extremely uncomfortable, dude. It'll definitely put you in that mind frame of movies like Open Water and that movie from 2022, Fall. Do you remember that movie? Where majority of the movie is shot in one location? Pretty much the same thing. And even though I don't think this one is as terrifying as being stuck in the middle of the ocean like in Open Water, but being stuck on an airlift in the middle of a blizzard, that don't sound too fun either. This movie is also extremely intense and is one of the most anxiety-inducing films I have ever seen, bro. If you've seen Frozen, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you haven't seen it, please go do yourself a favor and go check out Frozen. And by the way, I am putting where you can stream all of these movies. You ain't gotta work too hard to go find them. Trust me, I got you. Next film in this list, man, let's take it all the way back to 1990 with a classic, Misery. Y'all should already know what's up with Misery, but for the sake of the video, let's get into the plot real quick. Misery is a 1990 psychological horror thriller filmed by Robert Rayner. It's based on Stephen King's 1987 novel of the same name, and it stars the amazing Kathy Bates. The plot centers around an author who is held captive by an obsessive fan who forces him to rewrite the finale of his novel series. We all have our favorite writers, directors, and filmmakers. Sometimes the fandom can take it a little bit too far. This movie, like every other movie on this list so far, is shot from basically one location. Majority of the film takes place with this man strapped to a freaking bed, bro. The acting in this film is phenomenal. Kathy Bates is a beast. If I'm not mistaken, I think this was like her first like major role. So in my opinion, she's been a horror icon since day one. I think this movie is definitely one of the most unique horror films of all time based on that story, and it's definitely one of Stephen King's best adaptations. It also dropped in 1990, and I think that one kind of overshadowed Misery in my opinion, but personally, bro, I think Misery is way better than the 1990 It. And this movie fits perfectly with the snow day theme because everything that happens in this movie happens during a blizzard. So this is definitely one of the best films to watch during the snow day. Next, man, I got what I consider to be the best vampire movie of all time, 2007's 30 Days of Night. And honestly, I don't think it gets no more snowed in than this because this movie happens in Alaska, one of the coldest places on planet Earth. 30 Days of Night is a 2007 American vampire film based on the comic book miniseries of the same name. The film was directed by David Slade. The story focuses on a town in Alaska that gets overran by vampires as it enters a 30-day long polar night. First of all, this is one of the most unfair horror movies ever created, bro. We all know vampires thrive at night. They cannot survive in the daytime. So you got a movie where it's basically nighttime for a month straight. If that's not an unfair advantage, I don't know what is. And these vampires, they're not your pretty boy, seductive, suave vampires like in Twilight. These are straight rabid, bloodthirsty beasts. This movie is absolutely crazy, bro. Like I said, this is the best vampire movie of all time, in my opinion, with some of the best vampire designs. This movie just feels hopeless. and cold. You know what I'm saying? 30 Days of Night did get a sequel, but honestly, the sequel didn't really do anything compared to the first one. It was straight, but it wasn't nothing like that first one. Last but not least, my favorite snow day horror film of all time, 1982's The Thing. The Thing is a sci-fi horror film directed by John Carpenter. It's actually based on a 1938 novella called Who Goes There. There was even a 1952 version called The Thing from Another World. It tells the story of an American research group in Antarctica as they encounter this alien that they just referenced as the Thing, which is an extraterrestrial life form that assimilates and then imitates other organisms. Bro, could you imagine being stranded in Antarctica, being hunted by an alien that can shapeshift into the people that you know? Who do you trust in a situation like that? This movie has some of the best practical effects of all time. To this day, this movie has aged beautifully. Things that they were able to do with animatronics and makeup, they have never been able to replicate with CGI. In my opinion, this movie looks fantastic even by today's standards. Everybody sees Halloween as John Carpenter's like magnum opus, but in my opinion, it's The Thing, bro. There was even a video game of The Thing that came out in like 2002, I think. And honestly, it was pretty solid. They actually just did like a remaster of it, I think. I really wish they gave us more than a remaster. I wish they did like a full remake from top to bottom, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, you know what I'm saying? There are some scenes in this movie that will genuinely stick with you. I've been trying to refrain from going into too many details about these movies because I have to remember that not everybody has seen everything. So I gotta kind of keep it surface level, but just trust me when I tell you this movie is absolutely nuts. But if you got a weak stomach, you might want to stay away from it. But all right, y'all, those are my top 5 snow day horror movies. Unfortunately, I know that a lot of people probably won't even see this video until months from now because I'm still building this channel and the algorithm on here is kind of weird. This would not be the last snow day in the world, so hey, maybe it'll help somebody out for future references. Once again, man, I am Stoney the Great. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me. For all my new viewers, if you like what you saw, please drop a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. And until next time, y'all be easy.